we are back in the building. I'm here in sunny side Dubai. The weather is kind of nice. Humidity is rising up. So, but hey, thank goodness, again, I got some AC. But you know what? Some of you know I'm pretty big into privacy coins, and they definitely love zero knowledge proof stuff. A lot of advanced tech in the blockchain space. So previously in the previous episode, I have brought Dr. Anish. He was kind enough to spend some time with me and educate me on zero knowledge proof. But I have the privilege and also excited to bring someone new and someone who is been in privacy, he's been in the blockchain space for a long time. And Reuben Yap is the founder and the head honcho, the main man of Firo protocol. Previously, Firo was known as ZCOIN, but I think did a rebrand. So I brought Reuben to share his origin story into crypto, and we definitely want to talk about privacy. I know not many YouTube channels, not many folks talk about privacy, but I think I brought him in because he has been in both worlds. He has built a protocol, he has some mainstream experience, but also he has a unique insight. So I want him to help bridge the gap for the xt.com community and help them get a better understanding and in a layman's term actually, but definitely want him to share some interesting insights when it comes to privacy and of course Firo protocol, and also want to bring you to share your thought leadership when it comes to the future trends. So Reuben Yap, welcome to the XT cast.
Thank you, Marcos. And you're in sunny Dubai. I'm actually in Borneo, in Sarawak, so it's the jungle world here. It's I guess quite different, but still very hot as well. So real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Reuben, first of all, thank you so much. I've definitely been following you for quite some time, actually, in the privacy space, but also, I guess, in the general blockchain space. Because I heard your names through some of my previous guests, and many folks who are from the zero knowledge, proof community, and some different segments. So it's actually really an honor to have you here. But most of my folks in the XT.com community, they are new to actually crypto and blockchain, which is great. We are seeing adoption in crypto in some form or the other. But I want them to kind of have an understanding about privacy. But before we go there, I want them to know a little bit about you, who you are, who is Reuben Yap. So could you share us your origin story into crypto and blockchain, please?
Sure. I wanted to show my t-shirt first that says citizens, not suspects, which is
nice.
Kind of privacy related, right? Because we're in this world where I guess governments almost treat us like everyone's going to criminal, so let's all surveil everyone, and we forget that we're actually citizens first and foremost, and
yes.
We should be innocent until proven guilty. But let me share a bit about myself. I started into crypto in 2013. I got into the privacy space in about 2007. But I actually come from a legal background. I didn't start from a technical background. So I'm actually a qualified barrister. And the one that goes to court and stuff like that.
Man, you're one of those lawyers, man.
The evil lawyers that all deserve to go to hell or something like that, right?
Did you dress up like Harvey Specter?
No. But I did 10 years of law, doing a lot of work for the state government, helping to draft them laws. So it was quite interesting, but crypto really caught my interest. But I guess my first kind of exposure to cryptocurrency was in 2013, because I ran a VPN service. And back then, VPN services were actually kind of in the same position that privacy coins are today. Back then they were why would you use a VPN? You must be trying to hide something. You must be doing something illegal. Why would you need a VPN? Well, today it comes inbuilt in your browser, in your antivirus. It's considered part of your normal security suite, right? it's
Right.
like you hear NordVPN everywhere and stuff like that. It's been normalized, right? So,
Right.
but back then, in 2007, there was only like a handful of VPN providers, and we were having a lot of issues with payment processors. So to checkout, PayPal, and a lot of other things deemed us as high risk. And I'm like, why? We weren't getting chargebacks or anything like that, but they were saying that you're in the same category as gambling, pornography, and stuff like that, and therefore we cannot provide payment services to you. So we got cut off from accepting credit cards with our local payment processor. To Checkout also stopped us, and we had to use PayPal, which was like 3.4% and 50 cents on top of that,
Right.
over a ticket size of like $3 or $10 or something like that, which really ate into our margins, right? And like, we're in the privacy thing, and like, look, we're doing something completely legal, right? And we're not hiding anything. It's like most people use VPNs to, just secure themselves at public Wi-Fi hotspots, maybe watch some, streaming services where, when they're traveling overseas. There isn't really inherently wrong, right? And when we were cut off from all these payment processes, and also people were like saying, hey, look, you're running a privacy service. Why don't you accept cryptocurrencies, right? Because, I don't have to give my details to any sort of payment processors. Right. It's just all done like peer-to-peer. And they suggested Bitcoin. Obviously, now we know that Bitcoin isn't private, but back then, it was kind of like saying like, yeah, it's better than having PayPal have your details or something like that. And I started accepting, I think I was one of the first online merchants in Malaysia to accept Bitcoin publicly. And found someone to convert it into ringgit. Obviously, in retrospect, I shouldn't have, and would have been a lot richer. But it is what it is, right? And from there, I started implementing cryptocurrencies, and then I realized, the limitations of Bitcoin's privacy. I got into the very early privacy coins, such as Darkcoin, which is now known as Dash. And Monero and all this other stuff, because I was like, wow, I'm really looking for a privacy preserving cryptocurrency, right? So that's kind of how it started. I did a lot of mining. I built my own ASICs. I went the whole shebang. Went back to like the ASIC cube miners and N miner S1. I don't know what S version we're on right now. And
it's hard to keep up, man.
Yeah, it was a really kind of like exciting kind of thing, because it was about this, peer-to-peer payments, this alternate financial system. And I was really hooked, and the whole idea of it like really appealed to me. Obviously, we were going to talk about this later, but the cryptocurrency scene today is a lot different. It's a lot more speculation rather than excitement of what it can bring. But yeah, that's kind of how I got so into cryptocurrency. And then back in 2016, I've done like almost everything in cryptocurrency. The only thing that I hadn't done was actually be a part of a project. And I was still a lawyer then, and I was like, I just want to see what it's like behind the scenes getting into a project. And I offered my services to become like this community manager for ZCOIN about 1 month into its launch. So technically, I'm not the founder. I'm a co-founder-ish, but over the years, kind of took over, from a community manager perspective, suddenly, started assuming more and more roles. So, so I guess, Firo is a lot with, I guess, a lot of my flavor into it. All
right.
That's why I'm
nicely
co-founder,
done.
but I'm not the initial OG founders of this project. So what happened then was ZCOIN actually first started as the first implementation of a privacy protocol called ZeroCoin. And it was like really revolutionary then, because back then we only had ring signatures and coin mixers, basically coin
like
join.
Coin join, okay.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, it was like CoinJoin is kind of like in mahjong, where you take all your things and like mix it all up, and then you take your things back, and like whose coins are whose. So it was kind of good, still has some privacy, but it has a lot of limitations as well. And even like ring signatures, we're starting to see its age because there are now more advanced tools to actually analyze like the decoy base. So the way like ring signatures work is kind of like hiding in a group of 10, right? Like one of this is my real transaction, right?
Okay, right.
But nowadays, like we're seeing, the privacy isn't completely broken. I'm not saying that, it's trivial to de-anonymize, but there's been a lot of advancements to kind of weaken the privacy guarantees of this type of systems.
Yeah.
While zero knowledge proofs, I guess you guys have been, exposed to it, gives like a whole new level of privacy because, you're hiding among a much larger anonymity set. You're not just hiding between a group of 10 or 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
It can be like thousands or even millions per se. So I think that's personally very exciting. And when ZCOIN first started, it had this very unique mechanism of burning coins and then redeeming them for brand new ones with no previous transaction history. So rather than kind of obfuscating it, like, kind of like, let's have all these decoys, this was just like make it disappear and then reappear in a brand new address with no associated transaction history, which I found that it was like a more superior, like in my opinion, it was a more superior way to approach privacy. And then I got hooked. And since then, we've done a lot, but I guess that's kind of how I started into cryptocurrencies. And I've been kind of like leading the project for the past maybe 4 years or so.
All right.
So,
nice.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, first of all, Reuben, hey, thank you for sharing that long history and also sharing both sides of one is, building the protocol as well as the legal side too. So I didn't know about you being a barrister / lawyer. So that is quite interesting. So you're definitely familiar with, all these different regulations. And I didn't know about VPNs being equivalent to pornography and gambling sites. Because that's fascinating to see that. But you are right to say that I think in the VPN space now, we have normalized privacy in the browser space. It is a part and parcel of everyone's experience using a browser. So
even end-to-end encryption of messaging didn't used to be a thing, right? Now it's kind of like you have WhatsApp, all these things are kind of by default right now, and it's normalized. Obviously now regulators, some regulators are trying to install backdoors or have negate this type of things, but now it's one of those things that people say, I'm going to use this messenger because I don't want people to look into what I'm saying, which is fair enough. I think that's why I feel that financial privacy should also kind of be equated in the same light with messaging privacy as well. Because really, it's if you think that your messages and communications are some of the most private parts of your life, think about having your bank account, bank statements kind of like up for everyone to see. The public, not just regulators or anything, the whole public. And that's a real risk. And that is the reality if you use something like Ethereum or, even Bitcoin to a certain extent, where someone can just look up your address and see, this is all the transaction history that I come up with, and this is publicly available. So, I don't think anyone wants that. It makes you, I think one of the examples is like, you pay for a coffee and suddenly this person knows how much you earn, where you got your money from and all of that.
Yeah.
And really, why should they know? They should just know that you pay for coffee and you have the money and that's it. Yeah.
No. Hey, Reuben, thanks for sharing that because not many people realize, when it comes to, Bitcoin Core, BTC, Ethereum, ETH, and any other public blockchains, you are exposed to financial voyeurism, so a lot of people can, check the history of your public address using a blockchain explorer and some other analytical tools like your cipher trace and some other tools out there. So I think
Like
if you're like
even like nonsense AI, right? Like you don't even have to be an expert, especially for Ethereum. It's a lot easier to see. You just look up because they have an account-based model. You just put in an address, you enter in something like nonsense AI. You can see where all the monies are going to, right? So that's kind of scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think if you're like a business owner, or say you're trying to start your own side hustle or something, like if people can figure out, where you're buying your supplies from, and what is the price you're paying,
employees,
Yeah. So I think it's a lot. Yeah, it's like, I mean, you're kind of like financial, I guess, not financially naked, but you are digitally naked in the sense you're exposed out there. So I think I think you'll be more worried about your competition knowing all your stuff, your secret sauce, or even investments too, right? Investment funds too. I mean, I'm quite surprised. Not many, I guess, are aware about privacy. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, I guess when it comes to companies or investment funds, investing into Ethereum, like, do you think they're aware about the lack of privacy in these blockchains?
Well, it depends, right? I mean, what kind of fund? Obviously, with funds, sometimes they want to have some degree of transparency. And, in certain cases, especially in DeFi and stuff like that, you can see who's rugging who, what's happening on, like what happened with Three Arrow Capital or, Celsius and all of that. In a way, sometimes transparency has its benefits. So that's why sometimes like, when people say like, oh, let's bring privacy into DeFi, there is actually like yeah, I get the idea, but because of the state of DeFi today, where there are so many vulnerabilities, so many weaknesses, right? Can you imagine in a situation where you don't even know you're being robbed, you don't even know that liquidity is being pulled, or there's a hack happening and stuff like that. So I feel that yes, I'm for privacy DeFi, but I don't know whether we are mature enough to actually do it today. Like I think there should be efforts to do it, but because of the state, even in 2022, we are still seeing DeFi hacks, we're still seeing bridge hacks, and they are like every month you're seeing some new vulnerability coming up, right? Can you imagine all that is private? You don't see what's happening. That's going to be a risk as well. So I think there's, although I'm a very big privacy advocate, I think there's a place for transparency and there's a place for privacy. Obviously, I'm all for peer-to-peer privacy and stuff like that. But there are some things that maybe right now shouldn't be completely private. But on the terms of in terms of institutional companies, like if you're talking about investments, maybe sometimes they want to hide that, but I think in most cases it's good to know who's investing in a certain project.
Sure.
But at the same time, if I'm using it for actual businesses or to transact or to pay my employees and stuff like that, that I don't want the people to know. Right. I think that is a different different use cases. So it depends where you are.
Yeah. Okay. No, good. No, I'm glad you brought that up. I think I like the part where you talked about institutions coming into DeFi. Because previously I had a conversation. I'm sure you know Dr. Anish Mohammed, who's the the co-founder of Panda
CTO,
Protocol.
right? Yeah, Panda.
Yeah, CTO. Yeah, he holds many roles. I know he does a lot. He does a lot of stuff. So.
Many hats.
Many hats. He's a man of many hats. So a really talented guy. I really appreciate him. But I know he is interested and excited about institutions getting into DeFi because he believes that's going to be a really interesting situation where like your not Web 2 but institutions are entering into the DeFi space, and that's, I think the landscape can change quite a bit. So would you like to elaborate on that, or you have any thoughts or future trends you see institutions getting into DeFi?
Well, I mean, like, obviously, Firo doesn't aim to be like a DeFi protocol and stuff like that. We'll leave that to those people like, Ethereum or whatnot, where they're just like totally focused on that. Because I do think, of course, there's stuff like Aztec and other stuff that is trying to offer, or even like Amir Taki is building something called DarkFi, right?
Yeah, Amir Taki,
Yeah. So he's actually a fan of our privacy protocol as well. So that's cool. But
okay, that's
at the same time, I feel like I don't think DeFi is ready for for mainstream adoption yet. And
okay,
I mean, this may be quite controversial, but I feel that there are only a very few, to me, real use cases today of DeFi. A lot of it has been innovations which we probably would have been better off without. Like, okay, let's what are the good innovations? Stuff like automated market makers, AMMs, right?
Yeah,
that's a great thing. Make it easy to provide liquidity and do swaps and look. Now DEX usage is really, really high. It's great, right?
Yeah.
Another thing like loans, stuff like that. Aave and all this sort of stuff. Compound. I think that's a great idea. Even I would say would be an interesting thing. I don't know whether they've really achieved the vision of a totally decentralized stablecoin, because now so much of it is in USDC. But it is, I think, a worthy a worthy experiment. So I think these are like, to me, these are the three like important use cases of DeFi. Yeah. Other than that, what have we seen? What like algorithmic stable coins, rebasing tokens, we've seen how that went, right? Like, and I feel like in those cases, it's like, did we really need something like Amperforth, or like, I mean, I'm getting really controversial here, but what are we actually? Yeah. Well, what are we actually building, like, is this something that actually solves a need, right? Like, it doesn't, it's just like, seems to be like a much more, I guess, like complicated money game, if I dare say so myself, right? I think that interesting, you can call it an experiment and it's interesting and whatnot, sure, but you hurt a lot of people in between, right? You are using people as your guinea pigs. And many people, especially, I know lots of people who lost so much money on UST, who thought it was a stable coin, right? Yeah. And you even had like some so-called Ivy League professors saying, the UST pack will hold unless really, really, significant weird things happen, which, well, it's clear that when you have a token that itself out of thin air, and in whatever to back something. What really gets me about DeFi is that while I am supportive of like many other DeFi protocols, a lot of the so-called more innovative ones actually replicate the system that we were trying to move away from. Like, okay, why was Bitcoin created? To move away from fiat, because central banks were printing money and giving it to bail out all these banks and stuff like that. What is Luna? It prints money to back. It's like, look, it's there's no fixed supply. There's even you say it's not a fixed supply, but a fixed emission or some sort of predictability. Let's just print as much as we can. We complain about the US dollar printing so much money and say, DeFi is going to save us from this. I'm like, no, DeFi is doing this times 1,000, like doing this in a much worse case. So I feel like it's frustrating because you're really corrupting the initial, what crypto was supposed to be about, right? In doing the exact same mistakes. Like what Celsius did, what 3 Arrows Capital did. It's the exact same problems with what the traditional peeps did. And that really gets me, because you were supposed to be this break from the system when you're actually replicating the system and just slapping decentralized.
I feel you, man. Because I, I guess me and also some of the folks with the XD.com community, and also maybe even other communities who I kind of like follow too. Like I think that in many ways they share your sentiment, and I guess in some ways I'm sort of like stuck in the middle, So I don't know, but I guess we moved a long way.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm in the middle too, but at the same time, I bemoan like these things actually hurting DeFi adoption, right? And people are also losing track of the use case of crypto as a payment mechanism, which was the original thing. And Firo is a lot about payments, it's about privacy and payments, right?
But
okay. Bitcoin has kind of moved away from that, they're saying all about store of value and sure, people can say lightning adoption and stuff like that. But let's be real, a lot of the payments are not really happening as much. I mean, we've had 2009, more than 20 years, and we're still not seeing, to me, serious adoption of crypto as payments.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because like when I've been following Bitcoin, I was more like a follower. I didn't like really dive into it yet. But I think what attracted me with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general was to be this electronic peer-to-peer cash transaction for the world, And now here in Now we are in 18th of July, 2022. We have moved. We went like I don't know, like off track. Swirling around whirlpool. I don't know, crazy off the track. But I got to ask you this, Reuben. Do you think? Do you think privacy and crypto payments, crypto adoption? I would say crypto payments will make a comeback. Will it be a trend in your point of view? What do you see?
I think privacy never had its heyday. Let's look at all the past BAMA. Everyone's like saying privacy is going to be the next thing. It never happened, right? Like, Monero, Zcash, ourselves, when you compare it to like dog coins or like, cute stuff or like, 8 pictures, we haven't done well. So it's not like, whether privacy will come back. It has never happened yet, right? But I do think that privacy, when we move past speculation and we start using cryptocurrencies for real, maybe not for payments, though. Even I believe like, a lot of people hate on NFTs and stuff like that. But one thing that NFTs really created was basically really encourage crypto native payments, right? Because to get an NFT, you needed to have crypto. You're creating ecosystems in itself that are crypto native, right? Rather than focusing on like buying stuff from Amazon using crypto and stuff, which is great as well, but it's still very tied to the fiat world, right? But if you're talking about digital items and stuff like that, in that case, I think crypto payments have taken off. But when you're talking about like, brick and mortar, crypto payments, not so much, although we are seeing a lot of interesting developments, especially Binance has been really, really active trying to push crypto adoption, especially in Dubai. I saw that they got into like a network of some of the biggest malls in Dubai that they were hoping to implement crypto payments through Binance Pay. Which Firo is also an option as well. So in like those type of stuff, I don't know whether it'll become in big use. But when we are starting to see, I'm kind of like, metaverses, like we haven't really seen real metaverses. We're seeing like kind of like games 10 years old and like place with a metaverse tag on it. I do feel that yes, we will get there, not right now, but I feel that crypto native payments there would make a lot more sense. So I feel that once crypto native payments are more mainstream, people actually are using payments for real things rather than just for speculation, then privacy will come to a fore. I feel that one of the things is that what I'm trying to do is try to kind of like bridge that gap, because like Monero is like, the number one when people talk about privacy, especially if you're in the crypto space, you think of Monero, right?
Yeah.
And I love what Monero does. It's really one of the OG privacy coins, and that has really, I guess like really cypherpunk ethos, right? And that's great. But at the same time, you have people like, championing it in ways to say that, Monero is being used in the darknet market, it's being used by criminals, and therefore it's legit, which I can understand where they're coming from, but it actually hurts the legitimacy of privacy for everyone else in the long run. Because, when you speak to an average Joe, they're like, oh yeah, privacy is for darknet markets and for criminals, and we want to get past that. We want to see, we talk about privacy as a human right. Let's not taint it with all this other stuff that might hurt its adoption. And this was actually kind of one of the reasons why we rebranded from ZCOIN to Firo, is because, we had this color of like black and green and like matrix looking like a kind of like a hacker type of thing. So we moved to like white and red, and we wanted it to be more approachable, right? And the reason why we chose Firo was like it sounded like currency, like euro, pound, dollar, and whatnot. And it also tied into our burning mechanism of burning and redeeming, fire, Firo, that type of thing. Right? So that's why we chose it, and why the rebrand, right? So I really kind of want to approach privacy like, yes, privacy is really thing, but there's also some degree that you have to think about how does it fit in the larger world, in terms of regulatory pressure. Obviously, we're not going to build backdoors and stuff in it, but there are people that need to be compliant. You need to give them the tools to be able to do that. And we also have to kind of distance ourselves away from illicit activity. We can't stop people from using it, but we shouldn't be championing it. That's, I guess, my take, right? Yeah.
No, that's interesting. You brought that up. So I guess when it comes to Monero, I know a lot of people talked about the legitimacy of Monero because it's used in the darknet, and I understand that because same thing happened with the Bitcoin, right?
Bitcoin
before the hash was so
Silk Road.
So, but I guess history sort of repeats itself. So, and I can understand why that use case makes sense, because those who work in the darknet, they need really great technology. They need something that can work and stuff. So if that works in the darknet, later on it will get into the mainstream and be used. I guess I know sometimes also they use the US dollar as well too. I mean, it's also used in darkness too. I mean, way more than privacy coins actually in many cases. So, but again, I like the fact that you try to make privacy normal for everyday use, for companies, for businesses. So I do love the cypherpunk, that hacker, the view, the imagery. It's kind of cool. It's kind of sexy. It has that Hollywood kind of thing. But also same time too. One point you brought it up is relatability. I think that really matters, and we have to make privacy relatable to people like myself and my friends, my family. So I think that is something you've been hitting on. I like that.
We actually missed an opportunity, because now, I was thinking about like someone asked me a question in another interview. They were like, Reuben, if you could have done anything different, in or building something different and start from scratch, what would you have done differently? And I thought to say, I'll still be in privacy. That's a really thing that's important to me, but I would make it into like a meme coin, like a privacy dog coin, like something like Shiba, but with SHHH, Shiba, because look, for privacy coins, it's going to be harder to get like venture capital and stuff like that. So we need people to have fun with it. It's like once you have something like a memeability, have people fun using it, which is kind of like how I got into crypto, because it was fun to do rather than like about the pure monetary. Of course, there was always an element, but it was fun, right? And if you want to appeal to the masses, you have it fun. And then you have the privacy, and it's kind of like, you know, you put privacy and fun together, right? You know, the fun and fungibility. You know, some people say that.
I love it.
But I mean, like, yeah, you know, so that's something I maybe you know, would have done differently. But you know, I'm still a big fan of privacy payments and stuff like that, and I'm really proud of what Firo has built. Like, I think we're one of the very few privacy projects that actually, you know, built our own privacy protocol from scratch, right? And we also had our blockchain used in the election in Thailand with over 127,000 votes cast nationwide in 2018, and not many people know that, right?
Wow, no, that's new stuff, man. Can you please elaborate more, please? Hold up, please. You gotta talk about that a little bit, because see, like, that's pretty cool. Please go ahead. Sorry. You caught me by surprise. I want to know more.
Yeah, no worries. So actually, in 2018, the Thai Democrat Party, which is one of the oldest political parties in Thailand, wanted a way. There was this guy. His name is Abhisit. He was a former prime minister of Thailand, and he was the head of the Democrat Party. But many people felt that he was kind of losing touch, you know, because he was like, you know, Western educated, you know, and seen as a upper class guy rather than one of the people, right?
Gotcha.
And so there were questions of, you know, should he still be leading the Thai Democrat Party, right? And therefore there was this suggestion that instead of the then current mechanism of selecting the party leader, where top brass says you become the leader, they wanted the average party member to be able to vote to elect who should be the party leader of the Democrat Party, right? So they wanted to do this, and actually it didn't start as a blockchain voting sort of system. It was supposed to be this e-voting system. But halfway through, the candidates got into like an argument, because they're like, how can we trust e-voting? You know, who's going to be like, you know, controlling the server, and like, you know, you can start adding votes and stuff like that, right? So they didn't have like a neutral way to store all these votes and stuff like that. And someone suggested, hey, why don't you use a public blockchain like ZCOIN? And so one of the co-founder, Poramin, right? He started, you know, ZCOIN really from this beginning, and he actually served in the cyber warfare department in Thailand. So when he started that, and obviously then he has, like, you know, connections with the government, you know, he's respected and stuff like that. He said, why don't you use ZCOIN? You know, we're like, you know, neutral blockchain and stuff like that. Why don't you use our blockchain? And they agreed. Interestingly, yep. So we then helped them to actually implement the blockchain integration to actually record these votes in a private manner. It's encrypted and stuff like that. And over 127,000 votes were cast nationwide. Of course, there were some hiccups and stuff like that, but the results were not untested. You know, everyone was happy with the results. They accepted it. And yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that the party didn't do well in the elections. As a result, there was no kind of like political impetus to kind of do this again. But the fact is that I don't think we ever had a large-scale political election of this scale ever held on the blockchain ever again. We actually have kind of progressed further from that. So besides doing like privacy, we've actually developed a new privacy voting protocol called Aura, which actually, besides just having voter anonymity, it also protects ballot progress. That means you know, right now with DAO voting, it's kind of like you can see where everyone has voted. You can see how the ballot is progressing. It's kind of shit, you know. Let's just face it, right? But now we have this system that doesn't can be used for more than DAOs, can be used for elections as well. But here you're using cryptography to protect voter privacy, but verifiability that your vote has not been modified, it's been recorded correctly, it's been counted correctly. So that's why I say, like, you know, we're kind of in a unique situation where we're not just adapting privacy protocols, we are building them ourselves, and it's not an easy task, especially for, you know, we consider like, you know, slightly smaller cap and stuff like that. We don't have the resources, you know, we are still primarily a community project, and yet we are putting out really important work. Like, for example, you know, like our new upcoming privacy protocol called Lelantus Spark is a lot of the key ideas. Monero is taking tips from us to build this new privacy protocol called Seraphis. And you see that the components are very, very similar because they're inspired by our work. Obviously, there's cross work, you know, we've also benefited from Monero researchers, you know, disclosing vulnerabilities and stuff like that. But the fact that, you know, such a, like, you know, I guess like kind of like a smaller project is able to actually contribute to meaningful privacy protocols that will be used, not just us, but also in influencing privacy protocol design. So even if you heard of Beam's also are using something called Lelantus Mimblewimble, which was also adapted from our work as well. And it's actually really interesting, is a kind of overlook that people don't realize how much more difficult it is to develop privacy protocols. And it's often a very thankless job. Because you build a privacy protocol, you go through the audits, you go through the, you know, the academics and all of that, and then other people can just like copy it and implement it, right? Which is fine.
Yeah.
It does mean that we are using our resources to really push the boundaries of privacy technology, and we want alternatives to the current privacy protocols that are out there. Because there are many other privacy coins, but there are not many meaningful privacy protocols. There's NCT, there's Zcash, and there's Mimblewimble, and CoinJoin or something like that. There's some other stuff, but these are the main ones. So we have kind of gave birth to a whole new family of privacy protocols from our work, and that's something I'm personally very proud of. If you allow me to share a little bit.
No, sure, no, absolutely, no. First of all, thank you for sharing all that, and first of all, thank you for your service to the privacy space. I mean, that itself is amazing. I mean, the only application in terms of voting was maybe a couple of years ago in Sierra Leone. That's what I heard, but I mean, I didn't really.
Fake, by the way. That wasn't real.
That wasn't real. That was a fake one.
So what they did was they just took the election data and just placed it on the blockchain. The elections weren't held on the blockchain itself. I'm familiar with that project. For us, it was actually casted and held on the blockchain. It wasn't just posted, like copy pasted on the blockchain.
Hey, Reuben, thank you so much, because see, I didn't know that because I didn't really dive deep into it. I just thought, okay, that's interesting, you know, like, but it's good to hear that. Okay, man. No, but could you, I mean, before we end this, could you share a little bit about Firo protocol? I know you talked about Lelantus and some other stuff. Any other interesting insight when it comes to Firo?
Sure. So there's several things that's coming in, you know, I guess in the next few months or so. One of the things that we're most excited about is Lelantus Spark, which is basically an improvement of Lelantus. And what it does is that, you know, obviously Zcash now has like Halo 2 that has trustless setup and stuff like that. But we also have trustless setup, but we're using much more simpler cryptographic components that are a lot easier and a lot easier to grok. So what people don't really realize is that a lot of this new type of circuit-based zero-knowledge proofs are very, very complex. And with complexity also comes, like, you know, there are two issues of complexity. A lot more stuff can go wrong. And the other thing is that it also means a lot fewer people can assess the cryptography. You know, so like, for example, like I have the utmost respect for the Zcash engineers and stuff like that. But for example, when they had a Sprout bug, there was a bug in their initial privacy protocol, and it was live for 2 years. That bug would have allowed someone to print coins out of thin air and no one knew about it. Only their engineers knew about it, and it took 2 years to patch, right? And that's a problem, right? That means like you went through all this and whatnot, you had this open bug, but because so few people understood it, it's kind of like security through obscurity, which is not obviously there's been advancements and ZK snarks are a lot normalized now, but now you come out with this Halo 2, it has all these new components and stuff like that. How many people actually truly grok it? Even if you're a cryptographer, you may get like the full picture, but it's really hard because this circuit is doing so many different things. We take a different approach. We're using much more basic, what we call specialized zero knowledge proofs that proves very specific things. So unlike a ZK circuit, which can prove many, many different things, we're saying like, we're using this proof to prove that you actually have a coin without showing which coin you have. So that's what we call a membership proof. We have a range proof to prove that it's not a negative value, it's not an infinity value. We have a balance proof that makes sure both sides. So it's like, let's get into technical, but they're compartmentalized so that you can assess the security in components.
All right.
And it also means that the privacy protocol itself is much more upgradable. That means if I find a new proof, I can take out that component and replace it and upgrade it, and while retaining the structure of everything else. So this is coming, before the end of the year. We're really excited because it really brings like a whole new level of privacy. Sender, receiver amounts are all protected, very high anonymity set, no trusted setup. And it's been the cryptography has been audited already. It was community funded, so that's really exciting. And the other thing that is coming that's also really exciting is Elysium, which is kind of like although we are about payments, right? We also realize that we want to be seen as kind of like privacy infrastructure, where instead of relying on expensive Sparks contracts or layer 2s, we want people to be able to build their own tokens on Firo and enjoy the same privacy benefits that we have without having to write anything, just relying on our libraries, on our network where it's going to be super cheap. Like for example, there's another project called Railgun or Tornado Cash on Ethereum, right? It costs like a couple of $100 to do a privacy transaction, which means that your average Joe is not going to use it. Only the people are trying to rub are using it, which is going to be a problem in itself. For us, it's less than a cent to do all these privacy transactions because it's built into the protocol, right? It's not just a tag on; it's actually like built in as one of the key things of our protocol. So we hope to see more people building this. We have a partnership with a .oracle, which is kind of like a bridging project that allows people to bridge stable coins into our Elysium system and use them in a private manner. So we're kind of excited to see where this takes us. And I think and the cool thing is that we have actually developed new privacy protocols that also hide the asset type. That means if like right now, even if you use Tornado Cash, you can still say, oh yeah, it's USDT, it's USDC being anonymized. But with this new thing called Spark Assets, even the asset type is hidden. So when you see a transfer, it's like, I don't even know what just transferred. And that's something really, really powerful as well. So that's something what we've been developing. And all this is coming really soon. So we're really excited for that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm excited about that. I know I'm just, I guess, because I've been talking to a lot of people like, gamify, metaverse, NFTs and stuff. But I think in terms of the amount of technological advancement, I mean, privacy just blows me away. And just zero knowledge proof. It's a small community. It's a really small club. I mean, not many people realize how small club the ZKP is. So yes. I think you guys definitely should be honored, but also I know the level of complexity and you guys have to deal with is really, personally for me, is really impressive. I mean, I'm obviously not knowledgeable in that, but I am at least knowledgeable enough. Hey, wow, okay, it's a lot of work. There's so many components, a lot of trade-offs you guys have to work with, with the tech. But the commitment to advance the space, definitely by far, privacy is a whole nother level. So really thank you guys, for your service. And I'm gonna say, look, you know what, Ruben, right now I'm just thinking about maybe in a couple of months. I would love to have you, maybe Dr. Anish, maybe kind of have some other guys in the ZKP space or the privacy space, kind of like a panel. Would love to do some sort of series because, this is some really exciting stuff. I definitely want, to bring that messaging out there. So, would you be interested?
Obviously, yeah. I really want to bring back the magic, and there is something quite magical about payments that you can send that other people can verify that is valid, but you know nothing about. That almost sounds like some kind of voodoo magic, right?
And, I know.
and ZKPs enable that because a lot of people say, isn't blockchain about transparency? No, it's more about verifiability to verify that something has actually happened, and you can do that with ZKPs.
No, that's why I want to, I say I want, XC.com and myself, to, get that messaging out there and basically lead that charge. I think there is, a lot of value privacy and ZKP can bring, and in terms of business opportunities and in terms of communications and like in talking about elections, voting and stuff. I think these are game-changing stuff. Wow.
If you have 5 minutes more, I would like to quickly touch about regulation of privacy coins.
Yes, please do.
It's a big question mark. A lot of people saying, your privacy coin, aren't you against regulation and stuff like that?
Please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually kind of like a misnomer. So a lot of people quote the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, and something called the Travel Rules. Doesn't the Travel Rule, prevent privacy coins and stuff like that, right? And if you take a look at the FATF Travel Rule, all the travel rule says is extending the rules that is applied to traditional finance to cryptocurrencies as well. And what that means is that if I am a financial institution or equivalent or custody provider or something, when I am transferring from one custody or one financial institution to another financial institution, I need to know who these funds came from.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Like if I am transferring from bank A to bank B, bank A should be able to say where this money came from, right? Like that seems to be a reasonable ask, right? It does not cover cases where it is from you to me, right?
Yeah.
Or even me, or even from the financial institution to my own private wallet. It only applies that I need to be able to disclose who this transaction came from when you're doing from financial institution to another financial institution. Now, privacy coins, there's no reason we cannot comply because, look, all major exchanges which have to do some form of KYC know who you are, right? Yeah. So when I deposit money into an exchange, and the exchange sends it to another exchange or something like that, they already have my KYC details. It doesn't matter that on-chain that a third party cannot see. That's what we want, right? Like when we are doing transfers between banks, the banks know who it came from, but the public does not know, right?
Right.
So there's no reason why privacy coins cannot comply with this. Why we have been targeted is because of companies like Chainalysis, what we call on-chain analysis companies, that are pushing this narrative that you can only comply with the travel rule if you can analyze the thing on-chain, which is totally rubbish. Because, you receive a deposit from a customer, right? I'm unable to trace where it came from. But if it's a large amount that it's like, it's 100,000. Where did this money come from? Just like a bank, just like any financial institution, the exchange can say, hey, here, show me your proof of income and stuff like that. And people say, we're totally against all this type of stuff. But if you are expecting to have fiat conversions from like the dollar or you have to play with regulations, and fiat conversion is one of the stepping stones that you need for mass adoption, right?
Yeah.
And we also, Monero is great, but then they're also getting banned from many, many other exchanges as well. And because these people have been pushing that narrative that, it's for all this illegal activity, we are playing into the hands of these lobbyists that want to make sure that they can sell their blockchain analysis solutions. When it isn't really the case. Privacy coins can actually exist in regulation. And that's why we have tools to allow people to disclose like for example, if I do even like in Monero, right? When I can disclose what we call a view key to show the incoming transactions. So as long as we have some sort of mechanism that we can give to our auditor or something like that, we will be compliant. So I just wanted to kind of like dispel this myth that privacy coins are against regulation. We have to just stop this rubbish about we need on-chain analysis tools and stuff like that. That's a narrative that's pushed by them lobbyists. And
exactly.
I hope this changes. Yeah.
No. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that the regulation side of privacy, I think we need to have more conversations about that. So that's what I think that'll be really great to have. Also, like some other future panels, I would love to bring to the table. But that messaging about because I remember with Monero, I believe that a couple of years ago, the team they have got a legal opinion from Perkins Co. So talk about the regulations and.
Monero didn't come out with that agreement. I think it was just like a group of people and they were also asked to give input. I think they might have received some funding from Monero peeps, but it covered basically Perkins Coie had this privacy enhancing currencies and showed that as long as you have a risk-based AML approach, you can use existing laws to cover privacy coins as well. So that's it. Problem is that exchanges that are placed under a lot of pressure, and it's kind of unfortunate because regulators want to do this to kind of control privacy coins, but what they're doing is they're actually losing control because what happens is that then all this goes into decentralized exchanges into the thing, and they all lose sight of what's actually happening. When you have a centralized exchange, there's still some balance there. So it's kind of ironic because what they're promoting is actually hurting them. And I'm not saying that we should be playing into this or like bending over to comply, but I do think that there's a balance to be cut.
I'm glad you brought that up because I personally believe that I think it's about getting the right messaging out, and also not just educating the people, but educating the regulators, and also I guess in terms of privacy projects, or I guess industry in crypto as a whole, definitely needs to work on their messaging and the public relations and try to normalize things. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think I think sooner or later we will see more interest and more dialogue and discussion. So I guess personally from my side, I try my best as an individual to showcase, hey, these two can work together. They don't have to work in different operating in different silos. So I think I guess it starts from myself, and hopefully others can also learn and be able to articulate our vision and our leadership in a better way. So
I just don't want people to be too maxi until they're like, oh, privacy, it should be all encompassing and nobody should know anything, or there should not even be the ability to disclose. And that actually hurts privacy because it means adoption will not happen and will be only used by a select few. And one of the sayings in privacy is anonymity loves company. The more people that we can get using privacy, the more private everyone becomes. Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yeah. Hey, no. That's can you just repeat again? That statement.
Anonymity loves company. Yeah.
Anonymity loves company. Okay, I like that. Actually, that's pretty cool. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Hey, man, I wish we could continue more. But you know what? But this is But you know what? This is not going to be the last one. Definitely, we're going to have more interesting conversations. And but before we end this episode, how can people reach out to you?
Oh, well, I'm on Twitter as Reuben Yap, REUBN. I guess you put the links later or whatnot.
Yeah, but
Obviously,
yeah, sure.
our website's on Firo.org, which has all the links. We are also available at CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. Just type in FIRO, and all our social media is there. I guess our most active communities would be on Telegram and Discord.
Okay.
And we'll love to see you guys there. We're a really open community. Obviously, right now we just experienced like a crazy past few days where we had a few $100 million worth of volume. So we're seeing a lot of like crazy activity, but so once it comes down, then it'll be a happier place to come in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, because I remember seeing some crazy numbers, like almost over like 300%. I mean,
yeah, 4. It was like 600%. It was like really crazy, and the volumes like 400 million. It was nuts, but nothing to do with us. But it was like just crazy. You're gonna attract all sorts of people.
Yeah. That's great. That's great stuff. But this won't be the last. I think that we're going to see some really interesting stuff. I know with the Firo protocol and privacy. I guess the category in general. So, but anyways, XC.com fam, we gotta go. Reuben has to do some amazing stuff. But hey, Reuben, thank you for coming on the XD Cast. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. It's a privilege. And anyways, we gotta go. Y'all be good. Y'all be safe. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.